Cause this ain't no joke. Cause if you didn't just see, Tesla just a few hours ago reported some unbelievable production delivery numbers, okay? We're going to talk about those numbers in this video, but mainly we're going to talk about the stock price of Tesla and what I think is about to transpire with Tesla's stock price now. Do I think this is going back to record highs? If I do, how high do I think it will go over time? What do I think all this means for Tesla stock? And I want to explain all that in this video for you guys here today. Hope you enjoy this. As always, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're not already subscribed to this channel. Here, we're going to get into all this here today, and also download the Hungry Bowl on your iOS and Android store now. That's how to keep up with everything that's going on in the markets, business news, as well as do research in relation to stocks. You can even literally listen to conference calls right inside the app. So it's so dang cool. Anyways, guys, yeah, let's get into this. If you're looking to apply for my private stock group, check out first link in the description. Alrighty, Tesla delivered 936,172 vehicles in 2021. Fourth quarter sets a new record. I'm sure a lot of you guys might have seen the headline by now out there as far as this goes, okay? Tesla on Sunday, and also I'm going to tell you in this video what I'm planning on doing with my Tesla stock. Tesla on Sunday said it delivered 308,000 electric vehicles in the fourth quarter of 2021, beating its previous single quarter record as well as analyst expectations. The automaker produced 305,840 fully electric vehicles during the same period. For the full year, Tesla delivered 936,172 vehicles, and 87% increase versus 2020. That's an extraordinary increase there, okay? When it reported its first annual profit on deliveries of 499,647 vehicles. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people that, unless you're super bullish on this company, right, that had them do an 87% increase. I mean, that's just extraordinary in deliveries there, okay? In the third quarter of 2021, vehicle deliveries reached 241,300, Tesla's previous best quarter, okay? According to consensus compiled by FactSet, Wall Street analysts had anticipated Tesla deliveries of 267,000 for the fourth quarter and 897,000 for all of 2021, okay? So, what I want to get into now is I want to show you guys how big of an amount this is, because you see numbers like this, right? 936,000 versus 897,000, and you even see a number like 305,000 versus 267,000. And I think it's really important to understand, that seems like a pretty decent number, but I don't think it really hits people as much until you see the dollar amount that this makes a difference. And when you really start to understand what this does for Tesla's profitability in a situation like this, and how much of a change it is and how dramatic the numbers can be, okay? Look at this here. So, 38,000 is basically the difference that Tesla's coming in versus what analysts were expecting, right? 38,000 rise there, right? So, if we go ahead and we do 38,000 vehicles, which was better than expected, right? Yeah, that was a difference in the number between what Tesla did versus what analysts expected. And we did an average selling price of $50,000, which is likely too low, because you got to remember there's S and X's in there, which most of those are around $100,000 or more, right? You got to remember the 3 and the Y start in the mid 40s, but then, you add on this and this. Next thing you know, you're above 50. So I think I'm extremely conservative at an ASP of 50,000, okay? Extremely conservative. But if you do 38,000 vehicles times, $50,000, you're at almost $2 billion, $1.9 billion difference in this quarterly numbers, which means Tesla today has just likely smashed its revenue estimates expected by this company, never mind profitability numbers, never mind whatever the company has done for the solar business and any of its energy business in this quarter as well, okay? Look at this here. So, as far as analysts for this quarter we're in right now, they had Tesla doing about $15 billion of revenue, right? Which was 40% growth, which is a great number. But here's the thing, Tesla's likely going to come in with a $17 billion-ish number now, maybe even $18 billion. I don't want to get too excited, okay? But nonetheless, they're likely going to end up beating those numbers by $2 billion plus, which means now that analysts are going to see all this over the next week or two, analysts are likely going to bring up their numbers from expectations of $15 billion to $16 billion, $17 billion, $18 billion. for this quarter, this current quarter, okay? Which when you get analyst, expectations all going up, they're going to have to upgrade the stock likely as well. When they upgrade the stock, you kind of get in this whole positive momentum cycle that starts to happen in a stock again, right? Where all of a sudden, the excitement is back for Tesla, right? In terms of its actual fundamentals underlying. And then you get Wall Street, behind it as well. And they have to upgrade. Hey, we're upgrading Tesla from an underweight to, an overweight or something like that, right? That's what's going to likely end up happening when you're going to have analysts, way too far down on their numbers. If you go ahead and you look at next quarter, analysts had them doing 15.6 billion next quarter. Well, guess what? Now analysts are going to have to up that next quarter number to probably 17.5 to maybe 19 billion dollars. Anywhere in there, 17.5 to 19 billion dollars is likely going to have to be the number, right? Because they expected, this quarter to be worse than the next quarter. Well, now that you're going to see the company's probably going to do 17 billion, if not more than 17 billion dollars of revenue, likely you're going to have to upgrade this number to maybe 18, 19, right? And so all of a sudden, you get into now they're expected to do way better next quarter as well. Which look at the next quarter, right? Even at 15.6, the company is expected to have 50% revenue growth. So now it could be, 60%, 70% type number. That's extraordinary numbers. I mean, the pace that Tesla's scaling is honestly we haven't seen, many companies ever do. Okay, that's just bottom line here. Current year, $51.22 billion expected for current year 2021. That number is going to obviously be beat now. They're likely going to come in at maybe 53, 54 billion, something like that roughly, right? Which will end up being, 69% growth, 70% growth, something like that, right? So some crazy number, 68% growth. Next year, 71 billion was expected. Well, now if all of a sudden you have to upgrade the March quarter numbers, right, which is likely going to have to happen, you're going to have to likely upgrade the rest of the numbers as well, so which means analysts are going to end up putting something like a 45 to 50% revenue growth number on this company for 22. And I think analysts are likely going to expect anywhere from $75 billion to $80 billion now for Tesla. So all of a sudden, because of this great quarter that has just happened in December, analysts are going to have to not only upgrade what's expected for December quarter, because remember, the revenue numbers still aren't out. We won't get those for about another month, right? They're going to have to upgrade this quarter. They're going to have to upgrade next quarter. They're going to have to upgrade current year. And they're going to have to likely upgrade the 2022 numbers, or they're going to look like silly people when, Tesla reports certain numbers and they're way low, right? And everybody's going to be looking at them like, what are you doing with your numbers, okay? And so, yeah, when you get this big of a quarter, this is why it's such a huge deal. And we're going to get into the stock price and all those sorts of things in the valuation and everything like that in just a moment. But this is why a quarter like this, when you smash it like Tesla just did by, let's say it's going to be roughly around $2 billion-ish. When you smash it that much, it's a game changer for, the trajectory of growth rates for you for a while, okay? And so this is why this is such a huge, huge deal. Now, mind you, keep this in mind, okay? For much of Tesla's line right now, and I'm having trouble even finding delivery numbers for a lot of their vehicles now, right? Keep in mind, if you're going to order many of their vehicles, you're looking at a huge wait time. And it's not because Tesla's slow in making the vehicles or something like that. It's just because at the end of the day, there's crazy demand. I mean, I'm hearing stories about Model X's are pushing out over a year from now. Like literally, if you order a Model X, from what I'm hearing, you're going to be waiting over a year to get your hands on that baby, okay? The Model Y is pushing way out there now. And so the bottom line is, with this much demand for Tesla, they're going to be able to put up crazy numbers for the next several years, basically, right? I mean, they just have this massive demand backlog that's going to last for several years behind them, right? And then you got Cybertruck, which is likely going to go into some production in the back half of 22, in my opinion, and likely going to start hitting in 23 in a major way. Okay. Cybertruck is just another huge thing. Think about how much demand Tesla has right now. Think about the numbers Tesla's putting up right now. And we're not even talking about Cybertruck yet, which Cybertruck could end up potentially, I don't want to get too excited, but it could potentially end up being their top selling vehicle in the United States of America. I mean, when you look at how many F-150s sell in a given year, almost 1 million, and you start running the numbers on what Cybertruck could do, the most talked about vehicle in the history of mankind, literally. I mean, think about this for a moment, right? And so, like, these numbers are extraordinary, the numbers they're putting up, and then Cybertruck's just waiting there like, oh man, wait to see the type of demand that Cybertruck has. Because remember, from what we've heard, like, the Cybertruck excitement and demand is much bigger than it was for the Y and the 3. And think about the numbers the 3 and the Y are putting up, okay? That's some food for thought there. So this is just extraordinary, right? Now, as far as Tesla stock price, okay, let's start talking about this and the valuation and what I think is going to happen here, okay? So first things first, volume's about to ramp up in a massive, massive way for Tesla, okay? And I mean a massive way. So, if you look at the last trading day, it was around 13 million shares traded. You have a few different things that are about to happen with Tesla stock, right? One is the holiday period's over, so naturally a lot, more folks are going to come back to the market and trade this stock more actively, right? Now, all of a sudden, tomorrow and moving forward for the rest of this week, Tesla's going to be the headline of the market, right? In terms of an individual stock that everybody's talking about, right? And so all of a sudden, everybody's going to be talking about Tesla, trading Tesla like crazy, right? Then you're going to have folks go nuts on options, right? Because when you have such a game-changing quarter like this, right, now people are going to start wanting to play 3-month out options, 6-month out options, 9-month out options, and even 1 year, 2 year out options. If we're looking at Jan 2023s and Jan 2024s, so there's going to be a whole, and even shorter term options like ones that expire a week from now, 2 weeks from now. So you're about to have this massive, massive influx of options activity as well, along with people trading shares back and forth like crazy. So the first thing I can guarantee you is going to happen over the next, several weeks, and especially this upcoming week, is the volume is going to spike big time on Tesla stock. And I mean big time. Look for some crazy activity coming in the stock over there. Yeah. 13 million shares trading. Oh, yeah. Wait to see what happens Monday, Tuesday, and just, pretty much for the whole month of January with this stock. It's about to go nuts, okay? Now, if we look at valuation-wise with Tesla, right, is very important. So the company's trading at about a trailing P of about 330, right? No one really looks at trailing P when it comes to Tesla because everybody looks at Tesla as a forward-looking company. Unless maybe you're a short seller, then you try to get people, but no one cares about Tesla's trailing P. Everybody cares about the forward-looking numbers, okay? So forward P on Tesla is about 121. So Tesla, you would expect Tesla to trade in 100 to 150 forward P range for where this company's at, considering they just started getting to profitability very recently, and considering the runway this company likely has for profitability over the next, we don't even have to talk about the next 10 years. If we just talk about the next 3 to 5 years, and how much their profitability should ramp up in this business model, right? And remember, they're putting up these numbers despite the supply chain mess, right? Supply chains are a mess, and here's Tesla still putting up these numbers. So imagine if there were no supply chain issues, the numbers Tesla would be putting up. Like, that's just something to think about, right? Every company in the world has been complaining about supply chain. We're having trouble producing because of supply chain, right? And I'm sure it has to affect Tesla at least a little bit. So the question is, what would Tesla numbers have been if supply chains were perfect right now, right? So that's just some more food for thought there. But the profitability of Tesla, we know, is going to go through likely the roof and maybe to Mars over the next several years, right? That's something we do know. Price to sales ratio on this one is about 24-ish, which is definitely high. However, remember, Tesla's a stock that's pricing in several years of growth, right? Tesla's pricing in, as far as its valuations, pricing in 4 or 5 years of growth here. And which it should be, to be honest. I mean, you're putting up these ridiculous numbers. I don't know, revenue growth next year, maybe 65% maybe? Like, when you start to think about some of these numbers, it's for sure revenue growth is going to be over 50% next year. It's just a question of, is it 60 or 70% revenue growth, right? They're coming off a quarter where they just did 87%. And so when you think about it from that context, the stock deserves to trade at a huge premium to where the market's trading at. There's no doubt they deserve that, right? It just makes logical sense, right? Now, forward price to sales ratio on this stock is 15-ish right now, which I think is an important metric. You don't see a lot of websites or many out there. I'm hoping on the Hungry Bowl over time we add a forward price to sales ratio, which would basically take what analysts are expecting for a stock for their revenues versus a current market cap. Because I think forward price to sales ratio is arguably for growth stocks a more important metric than forward P. And you guys know how much I love forward P. But for these sort of major growth stocks that are growing revenues, let's say over 30%, right? Never mind a Tesla, with revenue growth of 50%, 60%. maybe 80% in this latest quarter, right? 90%, like crazy numbers, right? I think the forward price to sales ratio is even a more important metric. So I'm hoping we can get that in Hungry Bull in the next few months. But yeah, forward price to sales ratio is about 15 for the stock right now, which is considerably lower than the 24 you see, because this is going off a trailing 12 month, right? Whereas forward PE, that's or forward price to sales, that's looking over the next 4 quarters, okay? So, yeah, when you hear it at 15, you're like, well, it's definitely above what the market's trading at, but for a company that's growing like this, like, you're not going to find many companies, especially big companies, growing like this. Like, this is, they're in the $1 trillion boys club, obviously, with a $1 trillion valuation, but they're growing at a much more substantial rate than anybody in the $1 trillion boys club, right? Think about Apple. Apple's expected to do, single digit percentage revenue growth next year, maybe 4%, 7%, maybe 2%. Some analysts have them not even growing. Google might grow anywhere from 15 to 20% in 22. You have Amazon that will likely grow 15 to 20% in 22. Facebook, the same exact situation. Microsoft, I would say Microsoft maybe 5% to 14%, somewhere in there roughly. And then you got Tesla that's going to likely grow 50%, 60%, let's just call it 50 to 70% revenues next year. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's just, knocking the doors down. So nonetheless, Tesla's, a beast right now. All right. Now, here's the next part. I don't even think a lot of folks are factoring in right now. Tesla right now is expected to do $8.40 of EPS in 22, right? First off, they're going to blow this number away likely now because they're, everything's so much better, and don't be surprised if they come in with a $2.50 to $3 type number here now for EPS, because remember, when this business scales bigger and bigger, they're much, much more profitable. Like, the more Tesla can produce and scale the business, the more profitable the business model will be. So yeah, don't be surprised at all if they do a $2.50 to $3 type number in this current quarter, which is going to obviously make this number a lot bigger as well. But nonetheless, 22, let's have them do an $8.40. Analysts are going to have to bring this number up to about $10, guys. I see this number getting to about $10 of EPS expected, which, remember, this is a company that in 2020, right, which was their first profitable year as a company, they did $2 of EPS, right? So $2, now they're probably going to do around $7, and now they're going to be expected to do $10, and maybe, dare I say, they even come in and beat that, right, and do $11 or $12 of EPS in 22. That's what we call scaling EPS in a massive, massive way. And I think this is something that just a lot of folks didn't understand, especially back in the day when I was doing all my Tesla bullish videos, was not just about the revenue growth opportunity and the EV opportunity and all those sorts of things, but when this business scales, the profits that are going to start pouring in for this company are going to be immense, because the way they design their vehicles, the way they do everything, the way they think about everything, it's so much more cost efficient than any other company. And we're going to get into what I'm going to do with my Tesla stock here in just a moment, okay? And I am planning on doing something. But when it comes to these vehicles, you got to understand, like, the way they design them, everything they do is so much more cost efficient than the old school way of doing it. Sandy Munro, who's an expert on vehicles and has been tearing down vehicles for like the last 120 years, okay? He basically pointed that out in the Model 3. I used to have a Model 3 before I got the Model S. He broke that down, and he showed us exactly like Tesla has everything, all these different components basically going through their home screen, whereas a traditional auto manufacturer would have all these different buttons and knobs and all these complex, old school way of doing things, whereas Tesla can just integrate it all into one system, and they just saved in a massive, immense amount of cost versus a traditional way of doing it. Also thinking about the dealer model, right? In traditional vehicles, they have to sell through a dealer network, which means the auto manufacturer has to sell for discount likely, right? Or give a bunch of rebates back to the dealership for selling that vehicle, right? And so, take $3,000 to $10,000 off every vehicle an auto manufacturer ever sells to a dealership, right? Because the dealership has to make money. The salespeople that got to get their commissions and all that stuff, and the sales manager and the dealership's got to make money to survive, right? Tesla never has to deal with that because they don't go through a dealership network. So they get all that extra profit margin that traditional auto manufacturers, OEMs, they just don't get, right? Like, think about that for a moment, right? It'd be like, Apple selling their iPhones directly through Apple, right? Their Apple stores or their website, versus if they, never had done that and they just sold through like a huge chain of like, a ton of different electronic stores and cell phone stores, something like that. Then the margins are much less for Apple versus if I go right into the Apple store and I say, hey, I want the new iPhone 13, they sell it to me right there. The profit margin is immensely more, right? Same exact thing with a stock like Tesla here, right? And so this is something to keep in mind, that Tesla's profitability is going to go through the roof, okay? Now, in my opinion, Tesla stock price is going to likely, I would expect this month, okay, in January, I'd be very surprised if Tesla doesn't go to a new all-time high during this month. Maybe even in the next week or so. All things are possible in the stock market. What if all large cap stocks fell or something like that? Well, we've seen that play out. I remember in the fall time of 2018, almost every stock of the market did horrible, but Tesla actually held up decent during that time period. But I'm pretty darn confident this baby's going to likely roar back to a new all-time high or somewhere around there. And the reason being, and I don't make a lot of short-term stock price predictions. You know me, I'm usually focused on several years out. But just there's going to be way too much excitement that comes into this stock over the next several weeks for it not to really go to a new all-time high. Like, when you post that big of beats, Wall Street's going to get really excited. Like I said, analysts are going to come in with upgrades to the numbers. And it's just going to likely mean, Wall Street's going to be buying. It's not even going to necessarily be retail buying, although retail could want to buy after this strong of numbers. In my opinion, it'll likely be Wall Street coming in and buying heavy, because these numbers are extraordinary, and Wall Street's likely underinvested in Tesla stock right now versus anything else in big tech. Oh my gosh, you can't even compare it, right? I can't even compare it. Now, the other thing you got is the whole gamma squeeze situation, things like that. I don't even want to touch on that, okay? That's a whole other thing that happens out there, but there's always a lot of talk about Tesla gamma squeezes could be coming and things like that. So, yeah, I'm not going to dive in there. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, you can go down that rabbit hole and what could potentially happen there, okay? Now, in regards to me as a Tesla holder, here's what I'm looking at. If the stock roars back to $1,200 plus, I've been basically looking to cash some of my Tesla position, not much, like 250 shares roughly. That's what I'm looking to cash. So if the stock roars back to 1,200 plus, I'm going to cash 250 shares and then just hold the other 500 for long term. I think at this point, I've been looking for a reason to take some profits in this one. I think Tesla's likely going to continue to climb over future years, which is why I plan to hold 500 shares. But at the end of the day, I think I've found some stocks that will outperform Tesla over the coming years, because do remember, Tesla does have several years of growth kind of value in that stock, right? And so, yeah, it's not to say that I think the stock's going to do bad. I just think I got some other better places to park my money, and I think I got some new future Teslas, right, that are going to be stocks that boom. These sorts of 2,000% gains are long gone for Tesla stock, but in terms of, could the stock become a $2 trillion, $3 trillion company down the road? I think absolutely. You just need time to kind of play out to get it to that place, okay? So anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this. As always, good old Tesla my Tesla. It's been a long way, man. It's been a long way. I mean, from the days we had to fight the short sellers to, where this company's at today. Whew, crazy, okay? Much love as always, and have a great day.